Morning, everyone. We are so excited to be hosting Kheyrne Danu from WomanThrive today. It's embodied women's medicine, and Kheyrne does somatic embodiment, which is trauma enforced. She also does nourishing your womb and moon cycles, a lot of supporting of prenatal and postpartum care, and there's womb wise woman immersion. I think it's a workshop that we're going to chat about later that's happening between September and November. But I'm going to hand over to you straight away now, just to give us a bit more of an introduction.
Thank you so much, Kat. It's so lovely to be here with you, covering my favorite topics. So it's always hard to introduce myself, but basically from a young age, I was immersed in the world of women. I started belly dancing when I was 19. My teacher was pregnant, and I just really got taken into this beautiful world of the feminine mysteries. And I ended up being at my first birth as a birth partner. We didn't even have doulas in those days when I was 21, and second birth at 23, third birth at 24. And I just thought it was normal to support women during birthing because that's what women have always done. So there was a part of me that was very innocent in a way, and I really felt like the old ways were how things should be. That was what was normal in my mind. And at the same time, I had big hormone issues myself, and I went on a big journey to discover what natural hormone health was, because the contraceptive pill didn't help me at all. It actually made things worse, and it didn't make sense to me. But also a lot of the natural alternatives out there at the time weren't that helpful. So at around 27, I went on a very deep dive into researching how hormones worked, what they needed, and how we could repair them. And that's been a lifelong passion ever since. And also getting into working, because I was at birth from so young and it was just normal. I was always supporting pregnant women, whether through dance or through massage. Started studying around nutrition for hormones and for pregnancy. And after I had my daughter at 40, then my passion for supporting postpartum came in, because I was like, it's one thing getting the baby out in like a day or two, but then you've got a whole one to look after forevermore, and you're still healing from birth, and this is huge. So that became a big thing. And then I've always loved working through the body and through movement. And I had a neurological disorder that hit me when she was 3.5. And it was really terrifying. And I had to learn how to heal the nervous system. So my body's always been my greatest teacher. And I'm also very grateful for all the mentors and all the incredible people in my life that have supported me in work and in personal, because we all need each other. You can't do this alone.
Absolutely. What an incredible story, though. I can't wait to ask you all these questions now. So what led you've obviously touched on that a bit, what led you to this journey? What experience sparked the creation and development of these female-led specialized services? So if we can just go a bit more into detail.
My main story there, I think, with the hormone story, I was so shocked at how little information there was out there, and how many years it took for me to start finding tools that worked, that I became incredibly passionate about sharing them. So from 27 to 31, I was researching and healing myself. And then from 31, just became really clear that I needed to share this with other women. And I was a full-time belly dance teacher at the time. So I started teaching hormone workshops at the weekends, like one-day intensives. And I saw women's lives change. I saw them completely transform. They would keep me updated as to how things were going. And I looked at the time to be able to study like holistic hormone health somewhere online in South Africa. There was nothing. I mean, I'm 47 now. So this was 16 years ago.
Yes.
And then I also got the opportunity I sort of fell into health journalism, which was an incredible gift, with Giselle from Longevity magazine. So I wrote for them for 3 years. And that gave me the opportunity to go and interview all the most profound professionals out there. And I already knew at that time we started getting functional medicine doctors. And that was very exciting because they knew about hormones. So then I got to interview them and I got to go to the functional medicine lectures for 3 years as a journalist. And it was the most incredible gift. So I feel like I've really been gifted a lot of amazing opportunities along the way. And only at 35 did I do my official doula training, and then just immersed myself in the world of birth and midwifery. And then, also with postpartum, there was nobody supporting postpartum. Then Jackie de Boer came along, who's an incredible midwife from Holland, but she teaches the postpartum doula training in South Africa. If anybody wants to do that, it's so incredible and such an important service to have. So now postpartum's starting to become normal and recognized, and I'm putting a few workshops together, face-to-face workshops for women in Cape Town, starting next month. So
amazing.
It's been incredible.
Towards the end, because I think it's such an important phase in a woman's life. Postpartum is when you need the most support, 100%.
Yeah.
So can you break down somatic embodiment and trauma and how you help others to heal with this?
So what's so fascinating about our mind is it's basically run by our nervous system, and the nervous system is mainly in the body. 80% of our nerves go from our body to our brain. So when I looked into healing my own neurological disorder, it's called dysautonomia, so dysregulation of the autonomic nervous system, but it's more like damage of the vagus nerve is what really happens. So I needed very strong tools. I needed something that was not just like a little bit of self-regulation. I needed something that was really going to help heal a damaged nerve. Then I'd already been learning about the polyvagal theory from Stephen Porges. I'd started learning that about 8 years earlier. So I understood the concept of how the nervous system worked. But when I studied somatic embodiment, it was this deep immersion into understanding that everything that we consider the mind's realm in psychology, those stories and those protective mechanisms are anchored in our body. And when we start tracking the body's response through sensations, we start to realize what the body discerns as safe and unsafe. And the nervous system is all about safety or unsafety. And because we've had so many conditionings in our lives around having to work under pressure, or under fear-based pressure, at school, the idea, or sometimes with parents, this sense of if you don't perform a certain way, you're going to fail, and there's punishments, there's conditional consequences. For a young child who's wired just to play and learn naturally and explore the world and just like absorb information like a sponge, this is now a very harsh, against the grain way of having to navigate the world. So these become stress responses embedded in our system. So in the Western world, people are having these protective mechanisms, stress responses, we call them big T's and little t's. So we have what are obvious traumas are big T's, and then these conditionings are still little trauma patterns in our system, and they get caught in a loop, and they're constantly flaring up in small scenarios and big scenarios, and our brain fragments, and we have no idea how to deal with the situation, and we just react, or we shut down, or we just have these big survival responses, and it uses a huge amount of energy. It keeps us really disconnected from our natural boundaries, from our ability to ask for help, our ability to speak trustingly in what's working for us or what's not working for us to be regulated in any way. And especially as mothers, these stress patterns have built up through our lifetime, and they become really amplified in the motherhood world. That our children are triggering us all the time, and they're just existing, and we're sitting there and we're feeling such bad mothers, and we're self-flagellating. So in somatic embodiment, what we do is we create safety in our environment and within our internal world, and then we go on a little body journey, and we start finding the core points, that initial thing that created this trigger in the first place. So like if your child screams, you want to scream at them and tell them to shut up. Well, maybe you were told to shut up when you screamed as a kid. And let's go into that. And as soon as you go into the visceral sensation of the tightening, the sense of the breath not being able to be easy, tightness in the throat, maybe even nausea, like whatever physical sensation, the emotion's always with it. And it's so easy to bypass the story and just get straight to the core of this pattern. And then we have processes of how we can allow that. We bring safety into the system around that story, and it releases out of our bodies. So it's really about the mind can't heal the mind. We've got to work through the body to change this, these protective stories. And once it's like undoing the shackles, and we slowly release each one, and it gives us freedom to come back to our innate selves again, you know? And it's the greatest gift I can give most people, especially mothers. And to do it during pregnancy, so you have more capacity when that baby arrives.
Exactly. Because when the baby arrives, someone once told me, if you haven't dealt with your childhood formative year issues before your baby's born, all of that, no matter how much you plaster over it, it's going to come out. And
It's
then
gonna
obviously
come
your
out.
baby's going to be the one to
Be at the
suffer the
receiving end.
consequences of that.
Because
Exactly.
they're in your face all the time, and therefore they're like, normally it's your partner that's the trigger. Once a baby arrives, they're the thing hitting those little vulnerable spots. And you know, if you had a traumatic birth, if you had a traumatic postpartum as a baby, you're not going to remember any of that, but it's in your body, and that
It's
starts
in
to
your
come to
body.
the surface.
Exactly.
It's in your body, so you start having these primal reactions, judging yourself for them. And we work with compassion a lot. It's really, once we understand that this is really just your body trying to protect you, it doesn't know that the baby's not a threat. It's something's gotten triggered and all it sees is red and goes, oh, I'm not safe, you know? And then we just wallow in guilt as moms. And actually, it's all very logical and there's something you can do about it.
And also, a lot of us are going through the same thing. In fact, the
So
majority
many.
of us are all in the
Majority.
same boat.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And this is why I'm excited to start working with women in groups, because I want them to see that they're not alone. That it's not an isolated story, that
No,
we're all
not at
doing this
all.
together.
I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, so let's chat about something different, about the connection between womb needs and moon cycles.
So, you know, the womb has really just been put in this box of the thing that makes babies, you know? And what, on a very practical level, the womb has ovaries, and the ovaries make hormones, and those hormones are running through our systems every single day. And they're changing. They're changing at least 4 times throughout the month, and for good reason. So a lot of us will speak about the womb cycle as like the spiral path, where each month you have the opportunity to see the world from 4 different perspectives and choose what's working for you and what we need to let go of. So I really like seeing it as like the first half of your cycle. It's the time for building. It's the time where your energy is very external. You're wanting to do social things. You're wanting to connect with people. You're very creative. This energy, these ideas are coming to the surface. In workspace, you're connecting different people. You're setting up meetings. You're creating broad projects. And around ovulation, you're really thriving, you're really building. And then around ovulation, your physical and emotional energy, as you're sort of the most confident, the way your brain is wired, you're the most able to communicate succinctly. So it's the best time to be teaching or presenting your project, or, you know, just getting out there and doing what you love the most. And during the follicular phase and the ovulation phase, your estrogen is the strongest. And this makes you feel physically stronger. It stabilizes your blood sugar more. You're able to really use your body a lot more. And you don't need as dense nutrition. You can do it with lighter meals. About 3, 4, 5 days after your period, this starts to change. Then we're shifting into our luteal phase. And our capacity is no longer focused on external. It starts moving more internal. So we can't do things as fast. We can't do as many things where we can't, the social engagements that you put in your diary during your follicular phase, check them. You may need to cancel a few because this is now, you were like in that space of like, yeah, totally, I'm coming to the party. That'll be great. And then it's
absolutely not.
Actually, I want to go lie in the bath and listen to a podcast and do nothing for 4 hours.
Check out.
I want to check out, exactly. And it's designed perfectly, and understanding that like our physiology is guiding us as women from that womb space in a way of working in the world that is our strength. It's not that the luteal phase is a bad part of our cycle. It doesn't work for the normal patriarchal structure that is telling us we should put out the same amount every single day. But the gift that the luteal phase gives us is introspection. It gives us discernment. So we start seeing the little details. So if you're working on a project, check out the project, go through everything. You're going to start seeing where to refine and which parts aren't working and what needs to be cleared out. So it's a discernment phase. And we need to, it also, our veil, our buffer is thinner in the world. So during that phase, things are going to trigger us more easily. So if we are aware that we're going to be more sensitive to the world and start to watch what's coming up inside of us, maybe you are needing to say something to your boss at work that you haven't had the courage to say, and you're starting to hit that point where it's like, I need to say this. But if you don't say it to the boss at work, you're most likely going to snap at your husband. Because when we don't have the courage to say what's needed to the people when we're not yet triggered, it's going to build and our system's going to go, this boundary needs to be set, or this thing needs to be asked for, or, you've got to meet your needs here. And that irritation starts to build. And when that irritation then goes beyond the subject, you then just snapping at everybody. So that's where the irrational part comes in, is when you're not listening to the earlier signals, you're not giving yourself enough space. We also need a lot more nourishment in our luteal phase. We need 300 calories more a day during our luteal phase.
Wow.
Okay, that's like almost like half a meal, That's almost a whole meal more every single day, because the amount of energy that your body is building, because now it's checking, am I pregnant? Am I building a human? So it's gathering, it's needing more and more nourishment to do this internal building process. And then when we get to menstruation, it's like, okay, there's no baby, that's fine. Now we can go into the release. And what's so fascinating about menstruation is we all feel like our brain is like offline. It's like nothing's really working, but neurologically, your left and right brain are working together more than normal. So there's a very deep unconscious process that's happening in your system of rewiring and sorting through and releasing it. Like, if we can give ourselves space, I know most of us don't have time to have much space, but just even that intention of when you do lie in the bath, even if it's only for 20 minutes before the kids come and climb on top of you, just don't try think about things. Just let everything drop. And it's almost like all the balls you've been juggling through the month, you're now being invited just to put them down for a moment and reorientate yourself. And then after menstruation, you pick them up and you know how to work with them better. But we've got to do that full release, that full surrender. It's almost like a little death each month. We've got to let the things die that are no longer serving us. And if we can work with our cycle each month, we're going to be way more productive than ever before. We're going to be way more energized. We're going to be way more efficient and creative and powerful because we're working with our feminine strengths. So I think it's sad if we're not bringing our cycle into our awareness of how we do life, and we just get angry with it for being a nuisance and hindering the way we think we should be doing things. But that's how men do things, and we're not men, and we don't have to do the world the way men do. It doesn't serve us, and it doesn't serve the world. So
I've started tracking my cycle in the last year, and I can't say, I can't even explain the difference in everything. It has made such a difference to the point that I actually, I know this sounds crazy, but I look forward to every phase because it brings me something.
there we go. There is a
I would,
gift in every
if I
phase.
to say this to 20-year-old Kat, she would be like, you are loopy or something. But it's so true. It really, really has made such a difference.
I'm so glad to hear that, Kat. It inspires me when I hear that from other women.
It's incredible. You feel so connected to your own self, your body, everything just feels centered and comfortable. And yeah, I don't know. I just love it. I won't change that.
I think if we
Yes,
all mapped out our
exactly.
work diary according to our cycle, we'd be rocking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, like you said, your nutrition.
You need a lot more fats and proteins and blood sugar stabilizing foods. Yeah.
Yeah. And also the type of exercise that you do.
Yes, I forgot to
There's a
say
whole,
that. You can do intense exercise
yes.
in follicular and ovulation, but things like HIIT training, don't even bother in your luteal phase of menstruation. Don't bother. Just go with what feels good, but don't push during
Even if
those
it's
phases.
stretching.
Yeah, just do some yin yoga or go for a walk or a little bit of stretching. Exactly. But just the thing is that if you push in your luteal phase, you're going to push your adrenals on. And then actually you're doing more harm than good because you're going into cortisol dominance instead. There's so much I can say on it.
There's so many benefits to it. Okay, so we're going to go on to new mothers, including
Yes.
prenatal and obviously postnatal care. What does this entail and how do you assist them?
So I'm the like one-stop shop. I like to work with mothers in a prenatal process for like the whole pregnancy. If we can work for 6 months, it's incredible because I can help them, one, set up nutrition for pregnancy, movements, exercises. What are the things that really serve them most? Understand, I'm a hands-on bodywork practitioner as well. So if they're in the area, I can work on their bodies, but helping them understand how their body's changing and what their needs are throughout the whole process, supplements, all of it. But then there's the whole emotional side that we were speaking about earlier. So I really like to help women unpack the limiting beliefs and there's those nervous system responses that stop them from asking for help, stop them from setting boundaries. You need boundaries so much as a new mom. You really do. You need them during pregnancy, during birth, during postpartum. I mean, everybody needs healthy boundaries, but this is the make it or break it moment. So I help them really feel out how to navigate their reality and how to put healthy boundaries into play. And as we were saying earlier, unpacking any of those early imprints that they're dealing with. Our nervous system's formed in the first 7 years of our lives. So the way we were born, the way we were mothered postpartum, and for those first 7 years is the foundation of how we navigate the world. So, and we can change those imprints. So I really love helping preggies come into a deeply empowered state so that they can really have the birth that they want, whether no matter what it is, as long as it's empowered, they feel respected. They're able to say no to things. I educate them deeply on the birth process, what help them understand what they can say no to, what they can ask for, what's going to inhibit a healthy birth, if they're choosing a C-section, what that means, what the real outcomes are, not what the doctors tell you. And also just for them to really understand all the facets of the medical world. It's so freaking complicated, and that they can navigate that with eyes wide open and make very clear conscious choices and feel empowered in that, in a way that they're not going to be compromising their own health or their baby's health. Because that's sadly in the birth world, there's a lot of gaslighting that happens in this country, and it's just to make gynaes' lives easier, and it's abusive, and I have no space for that. I'm like, right, ladies, you're going to know your body, you're going to know this whole situation, and I help them lay out questions for their birth workers so that they have a very clear idea of how things will unfold in certain situations, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. And also getting them into that space of being able to surrender for birth. Because the thing is, as we're talking about the cycle, that menstrual time is a time where we surrender, and there's nothing in this world that supports women in really being able to let go and really to step out of control. The whole of Western world is about control. This is how we are expected to navigate our entire lives. And with birth, you have to let go. You've got to trust your body on a whole other level. So we do beautiful embodiment work. We really start creating a healthy trust space and the ability to turn the mind off and trust that incredibly powerful primal instinct that happens, and then preparing them for postpartum. Oh my gosh, that takes a lot of time. Really helping them set up the postpartum that's going to feel nourishing to them, set up that feeling of having a nest. Like, I'll say things like, think of all the people that you love and trust and think what their strongest qualities are. Who are you going to ask to make food for you? Who are you going to ask to clean the house for you? Who are you going to ask to be a shoulder to cry on? Who's going to do the shopping? Like, everybody, your community needs to take care of you. And if you don't have enough community, what paid help? Are we going to get a postpartum doula for you? Do we need an osteopath or a craniosacral therapist at some point? Do we need a lactation therapist for mom, for baby? Like, we lay it all out. I take it down to the practical of the things that you need to buy. We've got the shopping list, how to co-sleep with the baby in the bed, posture for breastfeeding. I cover everything.
It is such a great help.
Very few people offering this service in South Africa, and it's my greatest joy, honestly, to support moms in this way, because when we have a baby, it's a beginning of the rest of our lives of motherhood and being able to be with ourselves. And if we make empowered choices, then we're not sitting in that space of feeling guilty. And I'm going to work with them to avoid postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression. These things don't come out of nowhere. There's very solid reasons behind them. So we change that whole story so it doesn't happen.
Love that. Okay, so we want to hear more about a deep sense of self and the relationship between self and body. What is the connection, and why do you think that in today's world we seem so out of touch with that connection?
Beautiful question. When I was explaining earlier about those conditionings that we have, so all of these little nuances, these little moments that build from when we're a child, of when we don't speak, or out of fear, or when we go into people-pleasing mode, or all these coping mechanisms that we've developed become our personality, our identity. And when you look at systems like internal family systems, which is such a beautiful structure of really understanding the difference between the self and these identity, these little parts of our identity. Parts therapy is another one that looks at that so nicely as well. We start to understand that so much of our lives we're functioning from these people-pleasing and protective mechanisms. And when we start to gently meet each one of those with compassion and help that imprint get lighter and lighter in our systems, our innate self gets stronger. So That's our authentic being. That is, if you want to look at it as like your soul truth or your essence, or it's you. It's the you that doesn't have to twist herself into different shapes to fit into the world. It's the you that's comfortable in her own skin. And as that starts to develop, I mean, we work through the body to be able to unpack those stories and settle more and more into ourselves. So the thing is, with the body, it is our only home. It's the only thing that's ours, really. You know, this is our little vehicle for this lifetime, and our body is like a walking barometer. You know, our nervous system is our spidey senses. So we walk into a room, our nervous system's reading, you know, even through the phone here, my nervous system's reading yours. And I'm feeling like where those comfortable points of connection are through your face, through your voice, through the way that you're moving. We're reading each other. You know, it's amazing to me we can do it through a video. It's so exciting. So when we're in the body, when we're really present in this vehicle, because most of us are off like in the sidelines floating around beside ourselves, you know, or we're just spinning in our heads and we're just running from one thought to the next. But the mind is always pulling on a past reference and projecting a possible outcome into the next moment. It's not in the present. When we're in the body, we're in the present. Nobody told me this for 20 years. I was like, okay, what does it mean to be in the present moment? I don't know what that means. It means to feel yourself physically, like use the sensation, feel the weight of your body, feel the sensation of your bum on the chair. And as you land in your body and you go, oh, look, there's no saber-toothed tigers. It's safe to be in the body. Then we can start accessing the true self. Only when we're plugged in can we access that. When we're not in our body, all our conditioning takes over. Because when nobody's home and all the doors and windows are wide open, then it's not safe. So the conditioning goes into all these protective mechanisms. So like, for instance, you're standing and you enter a dinner party and there's somebody there that's got quite a brash way about them and they're asking you about yourself and they're making some goading responses about, oh, wow, you sound like a bit of a, you know, it sounds like some hippie work that you're up to or some kind of, then your defenses are going to want to kick in and go, wow, this person's not very safe. This is not a very comfortable moment. But if you can stay in your body and really pull yourself into your presence and be okay with the discomfort of the situation, you can realize you're not in any danger. There's no threat here. This person's a bit of an asshole. And actually, you have a choice. You can just go, wow.
Walk away.
You can walk away. You know what's so interesting about that with people pleasing is it's learned as a child, and a child doesn't have a choice. A child can't walk away. They're reliant on the adults to take care of them. So when we are in those situations, if we go into our conditioning, we get stuck in that no choice situation. We start feeling more and more awkward and trying to defend ourselves and justify, and we don't realize that actually we can just walk away. So
Exactly.
it's an incredible
Waste
dance.
of energy.
Such a waste of energy. And people get so angry with themselves. They're like, why didn't I just walk away? Because that protective mechanism is coming from a young child that didn't have the choice to walk away. And when we can understand that, the compassion can come in and the story can change. And next time you're like, hey, I'm in this situation again. I'm going to walk away now. So yeah,
Exactly.
there is such an important thing about cultivating that relationship with being in the body so we can access what our true self is.
There's such a psychological tie to this as well. I mean, it's a true mind-body connection, and they need
This is
each
the real
other
deal.
to make
Yes.
better decisions.
We see the mind is a tool. Okay, so the mind is brilliant at analyzing. It's brilliant at structuring. It's brilliant at problem solving. So the mind is an important part of our reality. But if we're letting it run the story, it's almost like a child that doesn't have this full tool kit to be able to do life for us. If we realize the self needs to inform the mind, then it's a different story. You know, we've given way too much power to the mind. It's just a tool. It's just an element of us that we need to work with. But if we're letting it run the show, then we're pulled out of the present and we don't have access to self.
Okay. We're going to go into the next question. Let's explore some of your holistic health support. Can you break this down a bit for us?
Yeah, it's always mainly been around hormones, but I'm very happy supporting women on all levels. So those beautiful functional medicine lectures that I got to go to, I mean, I knew a lot about hormones and health beforehand, but that was the deep dive work. They're for doctors, and it's all completely natural tools and a very deep understanding of how the body works. So then I got to learn about the gut health and the microbiome and the liver and the immune system, and how there's this dance between the hormones and the immune and the gut and the liver and the nervous system, and how they all work together. So for me, I can't separate. If I'm working with somebody with somatic embodiment and they're living on junk food and coffee and wine, it's not going to work. You're keeping your system in survival mode. And at the same time, nowadays, if somebody comes to me for gut healing or hormone healing, I'm also going to bring in the nervous system side with the somatic embodiment, because that's what's keeping you in the stress response. And we know the moment the body goes into stress, we don't absorb nutrients, we don't kick out toxins, we don't repair, we don't regulate. So everything gets stressed. The whole system, when we're mentally, emotionally stressed, the whole system is stressed. So I work very holistically nowadays of really looking at the physical and the emotional somatic story together. But yeah, I'm very blessed that I do understand how to clear out what's not working, how to bring in what we need, how to repair situations like polycystic ovarian syndrome and infertility. And a very common one is also hypothalamic amenorrhea, where you just lose your period and doctors are like, must just go on the pill. And the reality is it's about something is missing. It's often not enough nutrients in the system or overexercise. So depletion. HA is really about depletion, and perimenopause and postnatal depletion, like all of those things. Like I cannot separate how the physical body works, nutrient density, how the mind is working, and it's all connected. So I work very holistically nowadays. Yeah.
I think that's the best way to find the solution, because I think if you you folks zone in on one thing, there's so many things you could miss.
Yes.
Could be, part of the whole thing. Yeah.
I've got a very long questionnaire that I send people in the beginning, like their whole life story. But it's great because I get the picture. I can link all the dots, and then it's quick to actually know what to focus on. Yeah.
Absolutely. We love the fact that you promote deep personal compassion. Why is this so important, and what is a relationship to previous generations, which I think we've touched on with quite a few things actually? How does this guilt tie into this complex situation?
Brilliant question. So, when we look at the history of the Western world, or the whole world nowadays, but there's such a big distortion that's happened, especially for women, feeling guilty for normal things. There's been so much, such high expectations, unrealistic expectations of what a woman should be and how she should do things. And in history, there was quite a fissure at one point where we were taken away from working in community. And the reality is that humans are community beings. We are tribal. We all have a different place within our community, and we're all supposed to have each other's backs. And there was a moment in time where that was cut away, where we shifted from living in villages to the feudal system, where we had these very powerful people now controlling all of the peasants. And the wise elders of the tribes or the clans or the villages no longer had a voice. And what's happened is there's been this deep distortion where women have and then of course we have organized religions, and I don't have any judgment on anybody's spiritual beliefs at all. I have a problem when a spiritual belief is telling you that you're a bad person, that if you do this, you'll be damned to hell. That's an issue for me. We're all human and we all have the capacity to really be of service in this lifetime. But if we are riddled with guilt, we are going into such deep states of self-destruction that we're not actually useful. It's back to front.
No, exactly.
It's back to front. And what I love about the nervous system work is it's giving the understanding for the reactive behavior. It's giving the understanding for when we scream at our children. When I was younger, before I had kids, I used to really judge mothers. I was just like, they're your children. They're innocent. Why are you dumping your on them? It's so unfair. Not realizing that with that disconnection of community, we then created these nuclear families and we're now isolated. And it is not natural in any way, shape, or form for two parents to be completely responsible for a bunch of children, even one child, 24/7. It's not about needing to bring in nannies and other care. It's about in the village, the intensity of parenting is diluted. The children literally get to run out the front door and go running around safely. And like I had this visual when my child was 6 months old and she was crawling. I had this visual of if I could just let her crawl out the front door, and we were in a village and there were children playing and teenagers and grannies walking past, and somebody sees the baby and they make eye contact with me like, I've got her. I could turn around and my nervous system could completely relax. Mothers don't have that opportunity anymore unless we palm the baby off on somebody and we don't see the baby. And that feels wrong. So it feels wrong it's stressful to be hyper vigilant all the time and be the only person in the world keeping that baby safe. And it's stressful to palm your baby off on somebody else. So when we have groups of moms coming together and we let the babies rush around in a circle, in a safe space, and the moms can lean back and relax and everybody's aware of the babies, like even just two moms, like one mom can go to the toilet and watch the other babies for a moment and the other mom could relax and vice versa, or close her eyes. To be able to lie on the couch and close her eyes for a moment. We don't have these moments. So our nervous system's in hypervigilance all the time as mothers, as women, with all these responsibilities. And then we behave badly and then we feel guilty because society judges us because we're supposed to be able to do it, but we're not. It's wrong.
We're not.
It's messed up. We weren't supposed to be taken out of the villages.
And also in today's kind of world, it's even worse because the dangers have become
exponential.
Exactly. It's unbearable. If you try and cut off from reading the news every now and again, you have to, because you can't actually cope with the amount of bad stuff that keeps coming your way.
But to go to a playground with your kid, you can't relax. You've got to keep your eyes on your child all the time. That's the thing. The level of hypervigilance that we're living in is such a high level of stress on the nervous system. So that's part of the work that I do, is helping moms practically work out where can they create space to be able to come down. What kind of support, what kind of groups? Like, honestly, mom groups are awesome, especially when we've got women involved that aren't moms, because we need the aunties. Lord, do we need the aunties? But just hanging out with other people where you can actually just come down a few notches. Obviously, if your baby needs you, they need to feed, they need comfort, that's fine. But even to lie on the couch with your baby breastfeeding and somebody brings you a snack, I mean, what? When does that ever happen?
We're going to quickly pop into our last question. I wanted to go back because you promote rewiring ourselves. You've actually mentioned it quite a few times, back to our innate self, because I think very few of us are actually lucky enough to be in that space. What are the 6 pillars of being well rooted as a woman?
So we've got somatic sovereignty, where we're actually able to honor our bodies and listen to our bodies as a navigational tool, that our body is not irrational, it doesn't have experiences for no reason, that we're actually using it as our compass for the world. And yeah, I mean, just to just to speak into that rewiring, it's so much about, one, holding that compassion towards ourselves, that we are dealing with more than we ever have in history, and we do have this lineage story, these generations of imprints in our system that play out. And the working somatically, we can rewire that. We can literally take the emphasis away from certain neural pathways that they become redundant, and we can create new ones. And before in history, we didn't think we could do that. We thought the brain was set, you know. But now we know we can actually literally rewire our perception, rewire our behavior. It takes time. I mean, yesterday I saw a client I've been working with for 3 years. She's an ex-heroin addict, and she has just in 3 years completely transformed her reality. She's one of the most profound humans I know. And I'm blown away by how quickly she did that process. So I shouldn't say it takes a long time, but we do have to have, it's not an overnight thing. You can't just pop a pill, you know.
No.
It
takes a lot of inner work.
It takes daily practice, but daily practice within your normal world. It's about being present in the body, starting to have that awareness of, I'm in alarm state now, you know, I'm running around, I'm highly activated, I'm hypervigilant right now, I'm going into anxiety, or I'm in a perfectionist state. Like, we've got to start mapping our behavior before we can really figure, and then we bring in the somatic tools to gently start to change those stories within our system.
And be done successfully.
Yeah. So it's really, I would say the main pillars are really about self-compassion, about honoring what our needs are, starting to listen to our needs, and knowing that it's not indulgent. We feel guilty for nourishing ourselves, that, you know, keeping your blood sugar stable, eating good quality food, getting good amounts of sleep, lying in the bath for however long you need, like spending time in nature. These are not indulgences. We need to nourish our system to be able to have capacity to be great humans in the world. That's one of the unhealthy beliefs that we have, is women have to put everybody else before themselves. We have to, I mean, with children, you do when they're young, it's for sure. Only with the children, we have to take care of ourselves so that we have capacity to support others. And healthy boundaries is a big one. It's really, really huge. There's so much going on and so many expectations over women. We do have massive capacity, and it's taken advantage of to the point that we're burning out now. You know, autoimmune diseases are going through the roof in women at the moment. It's like our bodies are collapsing because our capacity has been stretched way beyond the max. Society's like, great, she can work 9 to 5, she can be a full-time mom, she can meet all her husband's needs, and she can organize social events. Like, what? What? How is that okay? No, it's ludicrous.
Not. Okay, we've reached the end of our chat now, but I wanted to quickly ask you 2 things. Upcoming workshops, and how does someone contact you? You're obviously on Instagram.
My website's WomanThrive.com. You can get me there. You can get me on Instagram. I have a beautiful 3-month deep dive immersion called Womb-Wise Woman. Next year we'll be running Well-Rooted Woman again. We're just finishing it now. So Womb-Wise Woman, just going into the physiological, the emotional, the energetic relationship to our wombs, to our feminine, to the way that we see ourselves, that we navigate the world, even going into our relationship to our sexual energy, and the masculine feminine dynamics, all of it, the whole thing. And then I've got 2 face-to-face workshops. So that's all online. The face-to-face workshops in Cape Town are going to be 1-day events, a prenatal one focused on preparing for postpartum, around the emotional and hormonal needs of a mom postpartum. So really getting into what happens with that hormonal change and why it's there, and how to meet our needs properly. And the other one is a postpartum workshop for moms with babes in arms to come and gently come back to their bodies, their relationship to their new mama body, and a little bit of somatic work, a gentle space for them to release anything that's been feeling uncomfortable or heavy or You know, it's just a really safe space for mamas to come together. And then we'll be repeating those in Cape Town every couple of months.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We've had such a really amazing chat. Thank you so much.
Kat, it's just an absolute delight to know you, and thank you for this incredible work, getting these things out in the world, these beautiful women, so needed.
Thank